In 2016, Mukesh Ambani made a decision that terrified every major telecommunications company in India. He announced that his new mobile network, Jio, would offer completely free voice calls and 4G data for the first 6 months. Not discounted, not bundled, free. The reaction from competitors was immediate. Airtel, Vodafone, Idea, the giants who had dominated Indian telecoms for decades, called it predatory pricing. They filed complaints with regulators. They lobbied the government. They insisted it was illegal. None of it worked. Within 6 months, Jio had 100 million subscribers. Within a year, it was the largest mobile network in India. Within 2 years, it had fundamentally changed how 1.4 billion people connected to the internet. It was the most aggressive market entry in the history of Indian business. And it was only possible because of one man, and everything his father had built before him. This is the Founder Files. To understand Mukesh Ambani, you have to start with Dhirubhai. Dhirubhai Ambani was born in 1932 in a small village in Gujarat. His father was a schoolteacher. They were not wealthy, they were not connected, they had no obvious path to power or influence. At 16, Dhirubhai left India for Yemen, where he worked as a petrol pump attendant and then as a clerk for a trading company. He spent years watching merchants, understanding trade routes, learning how money moved across borders. In 1958, he returned to India with almost nothing. He started a small trading company in Mumbai dealing in spices and yarn. He called it Reliance Commercial Corporation. What followed was one of the most remarkable self-made stories in the history of Asian business. Dhirubhai had a gift that no MBA could teach. He understood people. He understood how to build loyalty, from employees, from bankers, from politicians, and crucially from ordinary Indian investors. At a time when most Indian businesses were tightly held by families and institutions, Dhirubhai opened Reliance to the public and made thousands of ordinary Indians shareholders. Those shareholders became his most powerful defenders. When competitors tried to destroy Reliance, and many did, they faced not just a company, but a movement. By the 1980s, Reliance had expanded from textiles into petrochemicals. By the 1990s, into refining. By the early 2000s, it was the most valuable private company in India. Then in 2002, Dhirubhai Ambani died of a stroke. He left behind no will, and 2 sons, Mukesh and Anil, who could not have been more different. The war between Mukesh and Anil Ambani is one of the most dramatic business family stories in the world. The 2 brothers were a study in contrasts. Mukesh was the quiet, methodical engineer. Anil, the charismatic, media-friendly dealmaker. When their father passed away in 2002 without a will, this clash of personalities erupted into a full-blown succession crisis. For 3 years, the brothers fought bitterly for control of the empire their father had built from scratch. Seeing the damage the feud was causing, their mother, Kokilaben Ambani, intervened. In 2005, she brokered a demerger, dividing the Reliance empire. The logic seemed clear. Give each brother the industries that best suited his temperament. Mukesh, the industrialist, kept the legacy businesses, oil, gas, and refining. Anil, the futurist, received the high-growth sectors, telecom, entertainment, and financial services. On paper, the split seemed fair. In practice, it was the beginning of 2 destinies that would diverge more dramatically than anyone could have imagined. Mukesh returned to what he knew best, making enormous bets on physical infrastructure. He poured capital into building the world's largest oil refinery and expanded methodically into retail. He was patiently positioning Reliance at the absolute center of India's physical economy, creating tangible assets that generated steady cash flow. Anil, meanwhile, expanded aggressively, borrowing heavily to finance ambitious projects. But his ventures were more volatile. When the 2008 global financial crisis hit, his debt-laden empire began to crack. A decade of struggles followed, culminating in a stunning reversal. By 2019, Anil Ambani declared himself bankrupt. His net worth was officially zero. Meanwhile, Mukesh was quietly planning his most audacious move yet. The story of Jio begins not in 2016 but a decade earlier. Mukesh had watched India's internet infrastructure fail its people for years. For most of the country, data was a luxury, not a utility. Speeds were agonizingly slow, prices were among the highest in the world, and the digital divide was a chasm separating the connected few from the excluded majority. He saw a system that was holding back a nation's potential. It was both a profound injustice and the business opportunity of a lifetime. So he spent 4 years and $25 billion, one of the largest private investments in Indian history, building a 4G network from scratch. This wasn't about upgrading an existing 2G or 3G network, it was a complete overhaul, laying hundreds of thousands of kilometers of fiber optic cable and erecting nearly 100,000 towers. The goal was audacious: build a digital backbone powerful enough to serve 1.4 billion people, from the dense streets of Mumbai to the most remote villages. When Jio launched in September 2016, it wasn't just a telecom product, it was a declaration. India deserved a world-class internet, and Reliance was going to deliver it. The strategy was a masterclass in disruption. For the first 6 months, everything was free. Voice calls, and unlimited 4G data. It was an offer no one could refuse, and it triggered a frenzy. Competitors, burdened by older networks and existing revenue models, were caught completely off guard. They couldn't match the offer without destroying their own margins. By the time the free period ended and Jio started charging, at prices still 90% lower than the competition, it had already won the market. The incumbents were never the same again. Aircel went bankrupt. Idea and Vodafone merged in desperation. Even the giants bled for years. Jio didn't just disrupt Indian telecoms, it changed what it meant to be connected in India. Data consumption in the country increased by over 150 times in 3 years. Farmers in rural Rajasthan were streaming videos. Students in small towns were accessing the world's knowledge for the first time. And Mukesh Ambani became not just India's richest man, but Asia's. In 2020, at the height of the global pandemic, Mukesh did something unexpected. He sold minority stakes in Jio to Facebook, Google, Intel, Qualcomm, and a dozen other global investors, raising $20 billion in 12 weeks. It was the fastest fundraise in the history of private investment. And it signaled something important. Jio was no longer just a telecom company. It was becoming the operating system of India's digital economy. Today, Reliance is in oil, gas, retail, telecoms, media, entertainment, fashion, and now green energy. Mukesh has announced a $75 billion investment in renewable energy, the largest green energy bet in Asian history. From a petrol pump attendant's son in Yemen to the architect of modern India, that is the Ambani story. Mukesh Ambani's journey isn't just a story of wealth, it's a masterclass in strategy, vision, and execution. So what can we learn from the man who re-engineered India's digital landscape? The first lesson is about monumental patience. While critics question the silence, Mukesh spent 4 years and an unprecedented $25 billion building Jio before a single customer signed up. Most investors would have demanded a faster return, but he was willing to wait, meticulously overseeing the construction of a nationwide 4G network from the ground up. He wasn't just building a company, he was building the digital backbone for a new India, and he understood that foundations of that magnitude take time. The second lesson is about breathtaking scale. In India, half measures don't work. The country is too large, too complex, too diverse for small bets. Dhirubhai taught his son that if you're going to play to win everything. Mukesh absorbed that lesson completely. He didn't just enter the telecom market, he launched the largest 4G network on Earth, offering free service to acquire 100 million users in just 170 days, a scale of ambition that simply has no parallel. And the third lesson is about legacy. Dhirubhai Ambani didn't just build a company, he built a family capable of carrying it forward. Mukesh has spent years methodically preparing his own children, Isha, Akash, and Anant, to eventually lead. He has deliberately decentralized the empire, entrusting each with a key pillar of the business, from retail to digital to energy. It's a calculated strategy to ensure that the Reliance story doesn't end with him, but instead enters its next, and perhaps even grander chapter. The greatest founders don't just build businesses, they build institutions that outlast them. Dhirubhai understood that. Mukesh never forgot it. That's the Founder Files for this week. If you found this story fascinating, and if you want more global founder stories that go beyond Silicon Valley, subscribe and hit the bell. New episode every Saturday, and drop a comment below. Which Indian founder story do you want us to cover next? We'll see you next Saturday.